This is CNN Breaking News.
If you're just joining us, I'm Wolf Blitzer. We're here in the Situation Room. We're following truly historic, major breaking news. Sources now tell CNN that a New York grand jury has voted to indict the former president of the United States, Donald Trump. This is the first time in U.S. history, that criminal charges have been filed against anyone who has served as president of the United States. The charges coming after the investigation of hush money paid to former adult film star Stormy Daniels to cover up her alleged affair with Trump. This has huge implications not only for Trump, but also for the nation, as the former president makes another run for the White House right now. Our correspondents, analysts, and contributors are all standing by as we cover this breaking story and what comes next. Kara Scannell is on the scene for us. Let's go to you first. You're there in New York. You're watching all of this unfold. Tell our viewers what else you're learning.
Well, Wolf, that's right. So we learned that a Manhattan grand jury has returned an indictment against former President Donald Trump. As you said, the first time in U.S. history that a current or former president has ever faced criminal charges. This all stems from that investigation into the hush money payments. Now, sources tell us that the indictment is under seal, so we don't know what the exact charges are, but it does relate to Trump's role in paying off women so they didn't go forward with stories ahead of the 2016 presidential election. Now, sources also tell us that this vote occurred late in the day. The grand jury was meeting today from 2 to 5 p.m. We saw the prosecutors heading over toward the grand jury's room late in the day and then coming back. And our sources tell us that they then turned in this indictment, and it is under seal. Now, Trump's lawyers have been informed of this. We have yet to hear any reaction from the former president himself. They do not know the charges that the former president is facing. We do expect to have the charges unveiled in the coming days, and Trump's attorneys had worked out an agreement with the DA's office that the former president would self-surrender to come here in Manhattan, where he would be processed just like any other defendant, although he is not like any other defendant because he is the former president. So we'll see an increased security presence when he does come in for his arraignment, but he will go through the regular process of having his mugshot taken, having himself fingerprinted, and then going before a judge who will ask him to enter a plea before he will be released on bail. Certainly a historic moment today, the first time a former president has ever been indicted on any charges after leaving office, Wolf.
It's absolutely historic indeed. We will watch it unfold, and we'll see what specific charges are being leveled against the former president of the United States. Sarah Murray is joining us right now as well. I know you're working your sources, Sarah. What else are you learning?
Well, Wolf, I mean, I think it's just sort of telling how this came about, how the former president had been so convinced he was going to be arrested, albeit on the wrong day, and then sort of how comfortable his team has become in recent days when we learned that news, that the grand jury was going to be taking this prolonged break that they're expected to take starting on April 5th through essentially the rest of the month. I think there was a real sense among Trump's team that they had dodged a bullet there, that maybe this case was in fact falling apart. Maybe they would never even bring it before the grand jury for an actual vote for an indictment. And of course, what we are learning today is that is not, in fact, what happened, that there was a grand jury that was convinced, at least, that this indictment should move forward. I mean, that's been another knock, obviously, from Trump's team, as well as from some legal experts watching this, saying essentially there was a weak case. They didn't think that, it was possible potentially for Bragg to even get an indictment if he brought it before the grand jury. Again, wrong. The grand jury went ahead with this, Wolf. So I think it's a big day and sort of a moment of reckoning for the Trump team.
And today was supposedly going to be the last day this grand jury was meeting because they're taking off for all the religious holidays that are coming up. So we'll watch this very, very closely. Caitlin Collins, I know you're getting some more information yourself. What else are you learning?
I think we should know where Trump is right now, just to bring everyone up to speed. He is at Mar-a-Lago. They're absorbing this information just like the rest of us are, the former president and his team. Obviously, as Sarah was noting, they had basically accepted the reality that this was going to happen when they were talking about it last week. Now that it has actually happened, they were still surprised by the timing of it, particularly with today. But I mean, they generally had an idea that this was not something that had just disappeared or just gone away. They had thought maybe it was delayed slightly down the road. And so I think it changes their immediate plans. But they still generally had been thinking about what Trump would do, what kind of expression he would make, making sure he didn't look defeated as he was coming into New York to surrender himself, giving remarks potentially on the steps of the Manhattan courthouse. We'll see if that actually comes to fruition or if he chooses to do that at a different venue. I think the other thing that's really important to note here is that when Trump predicted inaccurately that he was going to be arrested last Tuesday, he also called for protest from his supporters. That is something he asked for, urged the nation to do. Of course, we later saw him predicting death and destruction could happen alongside a Trump indictment. He backed away from those comments in later interviews when he was pushed on them slightly. But I do think it's important that when he was predicting that, it wasn't just simply putting out any kind of information he had. It wasn't actually based on information. But he wants to see a response to this, not just from his Republican allies in Congress. He will be watching to see what they're saying on the airwaves tonight to see that they are defending him. And you may see some people who don't often defend him choosing this moment to do so. But he also wants to see his supporters out there. That caused concern among some of his advisors that he was going to essentially have something that resembled a January 6th moment on Capitol Hill.
Yeah, this is truly a moment in U.S. history. A former president in the United States, first time ever in American history, a former president now facing criminal charges, a formal indictment about to be delivered to him within the next few hours, we're told.